Hello, this is Tim Trelaw and I play the third Doctor Who for Big Finish Productions. You are listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Keep collecting.
Larry, it's Fraser. And you use, they all say, who is Doctor Who? Where is he from?
What does he do? They wonder who is Doctor Who? So I ask you, who's Doctor Who?
Welcome back to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast, the podcast that explores the world of Doctor Who collecting and all kinds of Doctor Who merchandise. And sometimes just Doctor Who. Brought to you in part by Forbidden Planet and Bags Unlimited Incorporated. Welcome to the show. I am Larry Van Mersbergen, your host. I've been a Doctor Who collector now since 1981, which adds up to 44 years of experience. Welcome to the 89th episode, continuing our celebration of Doctor Who collecting and merchandise. Thank you for being here. I opened up one of the first stores in Chicago back in 1984 for Doctor Who fans, and it was called Bundles from Britain, which just celebrated its 40th anniversary recently. I didn't know anybody would remember it, but then I discovered a wonderful book a few years back called Red, White, and Who, the story of Doctor Who in America, and lo and behold, my company lives in that book on page 384. I was blown away that somebody remembered my little store. You can find a link to buy this wonderful reference book on the front page of our website at DoctorWhoCollectors.com. We are part of the Direction Point Doctor Who Podcast Network, and we welcome all Doctor Who podcasters to our network. Just join us at directionpoint.org. Of course, with links comes two great resources that I include in every episode because you can start anywhere you want. Make sure you have timelash.com and underneath that link, select the TARDIS library because that's where you're going to find a complete record of all media except for magazines and figures and things like that. Just books, records, VHS tapes, DVDs, Blu-rays, that kind of thing, cassette tapes. From the beginning of the run in 64 all the way to the present day. And you can actually register for a free account and keep track of your stuff and keep track of your want lists, and even though it has links to where you might be able to find something. So there you go. That's an important thing to find there. If you want to do some deeper research into what happened in Doctor Who merchandise, the biggest collection of items that you can actually look through for free is Howe's Transcendental Toy Box at drwhotoybox.co.uk. So David J. Howe runs that, and I am a contributor to that website. So happy to help out if that is what you need. If you're looking to shop for Doctor Who items at great prices, look no further than DoctorWhoStore.com. That's Alien Entertainment. My old partner, Gene Smith, runs that operation, and he has what you need. If you live in the Chicago area or the western suburbs, you can select a free pickup from the store to save on that postage and handling, or they will ship it to you the best possible way. If you do visit the store in Lombard, make sure you browse the amazing selection of Doctor Who and other science fiction items. Sometimes Gene has some special items behind the scenes that he doesn't often put on the floor, but hey, ask. You never know. So you can find their hours at alienentertainment.com. You can also find some great stuff at Forbidden Planet, and you don't have to go to them. You can come straight to me, and that's at DoctorWhoCollectors.com. Select merchandise links, and you can shop for Forbidden Planet items right on my website. Don't forget, we also have an eBay store. We've got some good stuff up there, some extras from the collection, surplus stuff that we don't need to keep. So, and also you can check out at Forbidden Planet, and with that link, we also get a little bit back to help cover our costs. So you don't pay more. We just get a little bit from them. So there we go. Don't forget also Who North America. You know, Keith and Jenny, amazing folks. They opened that store down in Canby, Indiana. But you can find them online at whona.com. And, of course, without forgetting our friends in London, the Who Shop. They are listeners to the program. So hello, Alex and the gang. It's good to have you all. You can find them at thewhoshop.com. In addition, of course, on our website to all the podcasts posted from episode 1 to the current one, we also have the complete guide to Doctor Who classic hardcover books. These are the books published by Alan Wingate, Longbow, and W.H. Allen, and others, including Muller and White Lion and Aeonian Amarian. You can find those there in publication order, and you can see what you're missing, including we've got all the reprints that are known. So there you go. So what's going on? Chicago TARDIS, of course, is the big convention that I talk about here. We have no changes in guests from last time, but I'll go through the list here real quick. So we've got Jason Hay-Ellery, Annette Badland, Mickey Lewis, Steph DeWally, I'm excited to meet her, Sean Carlson, Miles Richardson, he does the voice of Irving Braxiatel, Jacqueline King, who played Sylvia Noble, we got Mickey Lewis, he's the monster guy, Susan Twist, who plays Susan Triad on the current series, and of course your ticket also comes with Fraser Hines. So you can always see Fraser at your local conventions, usually. He does them all. The convention is set for November 28th, 29th, and 30th at the Westin Hotel in Lombard. You will love the Westin Hotel in Lombard. It is not in downtown Chicago, which means you don't have to pay for parking. And there's no excessive tax on the restaurant, and the rooms are pretty reasonable if you want to book them through Chicago TARDIS or on your own. They're not too bad. So there you go. You can get tickets for the conference at chicagotardis.com through Eventbrite. And there you go. Make sure you follow them on all social media platforms. Before Doctoberfest, we've got before Chicago TARDIS, we have Doctoberfest. Regenerate is this year's theme, and that is set for Saturday, October 18th. I am the only guest so far. And my presentation will be on Doctor Who toys and games throughout the century here. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'll also have my dealer table there. So if you want to peruse what's for sale at my collection, you can do that. No other guests have been announced yet. And so there you go. If you are a convention runner and would like to have me present at your convention or festival, please contact me at drwhocollectorspodcast@gmail.com. So that is all I am committed to at the moment. A lot of rumors floating around about printings of hardcover books that I talked about earlier for second and third printings. So I'm always on the look out for concrete proof so I can update that database and make sure we have an accurate listing. So if you have a book that says second impression and I don't have it on my website, talk to me. I need a photo of the book, obviously, the cover, the spine, the inside page where it says the printing and the date, and anything that would be helpful to identify the book. So just send that to me at drwhocollectorspodcast@gmail.com. On today's show, I will be speaking with the author of The Evolution of the Toy Dalek, a book I reviewed on this program, Alex Storer. And it's a wonderful conversation. I can't wait to share it with you. He also has another book he's going to announce about Blackpool, so the exhibition. So there you go. I do want to thank our patrons. Thank you so much for patronizing our program here. If you want to see exclusive video material, including our special content, go to Patreon and subscribe at the $10 level. And you can find us at patreon.com/Doctor Who. Did I say backsplash? I did. / Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. If you want to support us at our home site, which is Podbean, you can go to drwhocollectors.podbean.com and click the patron button to support us at any level. Our theme song is Who's Doctor Who, composed by Barry Mason and Les Reed, performed by Fraser Hines, used with permission. You hear this podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. If you want to share this with a friend, we are on Apple Podcasts, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and many more. You can also find this pretty much anywhere you get your shows. After the break, we will have My Time, then our main story, and of course, the most outrageous offer. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Juliet.
And I'm Nathan.
Experience Doctor Who from the very beginning through a classic fan's eyes.
and through the eyes of a new Who fan.
Reminisce and relive those classic moments with Nathan as he offers fun insight.
Or experience them for the first time with Juliet as she dwells on social issues, history, fashion, and the size of a flashlight.
We're the Time Streams Podcast.
Find us on Spotify, Stitcher, or Apple Podcasts. You're listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Keep collecting.
Traveling the Vortex.
Are you ready to embark on an epic journey through time and space? Join the thousands of Whovians around the world who've discovered Traveling the Vortex, the ultimate Doctor Who podcast for die-hard fans and curious newcomers alike.
Every week, we dive deep into the Whoniverse, discussing the episodes, theories, and hidden gems. We dissect the Doctor's adventures, share behind-the-scenes stories, and explore the legacy of this iconic show.
Traveling the Vortex brings fans together, fostering a global community of Whovians. Whether you're a fan of classic or new Who, there's something for everyone.
Join us on this incredible journey as we unravel the mysteries of time and space.
Don't miss out. Subscribe to Traveling the Vortex today on your favorite podcast platform.
Traveling the Vortex, your ticket to adventure awaits.
Traveling the Vortex is a proud member of the Direction Point Podcast Network. You're listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Keep collecting.
It's my time. And now it's time for my time. If you have not watched all the Doctor Who episodes up to date, including the Wish World, you might want to skip this section because I am announcing spoilers here. So here you go. I had a chance to watch. I'm caught up with everything pretty much up to now, but I'll start with Lucky Day. And now looking backwards, Lucky Day sets us up, of course, for the finale. But it's an interesting story here involving, Millie Gibson, Ruby Sunday, and we even bring back Think Tank, which is a really nice callback to the Tom Baker era. That was the organization in Giant Robot. So you have to go back to 75 if you want to get the original for that. So thank you for that. That was really great. I really enjoyed that one. The story in the engine was very interesting as well. Kind of almost like a I'm trying to think about it where stories are kind of the fuel here for this spaceship kind of thing. But it also involved a flashback to the fugitive Doctor. So that was an interesting thing to do as well. So we're getting a lot of callbacks here to other things. And of course, I still can't get this Dug-a-Doo song out of my head, but the Interstellar Song Contest was a really good story. Of course, we notice Mrs. Flood is in the audience, and we get the big reveal at the end when she bigenerates, featuring the wonderful actress Archie Punjabi playing the Ronnie, which I'll tell you what, I ruled out the Ronnie because after doing research about Pip and Jane Baker, who invented the Ronnie for Mark of the Ronnie and Time of the Ronnie. You would have to get their permission or their estate's permission to use that character. So they must have done that. And probably thinking that they couldn't do it, did it anyway. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But there were quite a bit of good moments in that as well, especially some of the songs. Dug-a-Doo, Dug-a-Doo. There you go. And that's been all over TikTok, by the way. Anyway, and then Wish World was the one that came out this past week. Reality War is set for this coming week. I won't have that yet. But Wish World, of course, is an alternative reality on the planet Earth with the Ronnie and our think tank guy, Conrad. And, of course, Mrs. Flood is with her. And then they actually are invoking bringing back Omega. Now, we haven't had Omega since Arc of Infinity. And then going even further back to get the first story, the Three Doctors. So this is going back to 1973. So this is good. This is tying together the old series and the new series. I don't even make a distinction. It's all Doctor Who to me. And I've had a lot of people get into fights with me about that. And I'm like, hey, it's Doctor Who. As long as they're running Doctor Who, it's Doctor Who. So there you go. I really loved it. I love this season. I think it's a better season than the previous one. It's going really well. And I'm excited to see what's happening next. So It has, the next season has been planned. It has not yet been commissioned yet. No stories have been proposed. No, nothing leaking out of that as of now. So there we go. As far as other things too, I just, I also want to address this other thing too. People are kind of worried about tariffs. Well, as of this recording, we had a court here in this country that determined that the tariffs were illegal. So those tariffs are canceled for the moment. Never say never, because, everything's unpredictable here. But hopefully now that will ease tensions on importing Doctor Who items from the UK. So I'm hoping. That's, people have asked me about that, because I do have a UK mailing address now through MyUS. If you Google MyUS, MYUS, you can establish a mailing address in the UK, especially for those eBay auctions where it says we won't sell to the United States for whatever reason. You can actually just say, okay, fine, you can ship it to my UK address. I pay a little bit more in shipping to get it to me. If it's really something I want to do, then I'll do it. But sometimes people are like, I'm not messing with the U.S. shipping issue. But you know what? Other people do, and I have no problem shipping to the U.K. It's just, I respect people's opinions there. I don't agree with it, but I respect it. And also, I want to share with you, I'm on TikTok, so you can find me there, Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. And we picked up, just in the last 3 months, a little over 450 followers. I've been doing tours of the Who collection here, little by little, and it's just drawn in so many people. And if you're now a listener, thank you. Welcome to the show. We really love having you here. It's been fun. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad that that's still continuing. Obviously, with any social media platform, you get your downside as well. But, the comments have all been positive. There's been a lot of love shared, and so it's a wonderful thing. So I appreciate that. But anyway, that's my time for now. So in just a moment here, we're going to get to our main story today. And the main story is we're talking with the author of The Evolution of the Toy Dalek, Alex Storer. So after a couple of messages from our Direction Point podcasts, stay tuned. So that's my take on that. And I want to report another Doctor Who sighting out there. Of course, if you're not fans of the show, Call the Midwife. We've just I just watched episode 4 of the latest season, and Sister Monica Joan, who's a character on there, she's a fan of Doctor Who. It's appeared before, but this time it established when this was, and I'm not sure if the timing is correct, because she hits the TV and John Pertwee is on there doing the eyebrow thing from Spearhead from Space, the Prawn of Delphong, where they use their eyebrows, and stuff like that. And I could tell that in the split couple seconds that he was on the screen, but that was shown in January. So the show did not appear to be January, but maybe it was. It was hard. They were wearing coats outside. There was no snow, but I don't know. But anyway, it's a nice Doctor Who sighting outside of the world of Doctor Who, and they had a nice clear image, which I'm yet to get to that box set with John Pertwee. I'm still in the middle of the Color War Games, which I'm enjoying tremendously. I so far haven't, been distracted by the cutting together, but I am enjoying it in color. I've always thought, Patrick Troughton episodes would look good in color, and I think they would have, if especially if the process is done right. And I think they did a really nice job. I do recommend to my collecting friends out there, get yourself, and it's not a lot of money, get yourself an international Blu-ray player so that you don't have to worry about waiting for Amazon US to get these things. And plus you can get the steel books and get the nice copies from the UK. As far as I know, there's, as far as the tariff thing, I don't think that's going to be a factor yet. I haven't heard anything about that, but you should still be able to get those Blu-rays from England. And that's, you can use your Amazon account. It's amazon.co.uk. And you can go there and use your existing Amazon login to make purchases. And they get here pretty quick. They use DHL usually, and it's a little bit more money. But the other thing you can do, and I just found this out because I've been railing for years for sellers who do not sell to the U.S. So I thought there's got to be a service that's reasonable that I can get a UK address and they'll just forward it to me. Well, I found one. It's called MyUS. Altogether, MYUS. Just go there, Google that, and set up an account. And they give you an address, a UK address, and a suite. And as soon as they get it in-house, I have my payment information tied to them. They calculate the postage and they ship it out. They rebag it. They put it in one more bag and then they send it out. So I have gotten some things through there and they've come here absolutely in perfect shape. And I've been able to use the UK shipping address on certain eBay auctions where they said, sorry, this may not post to the United States. Well, haha, it will now. That's an option. Check it out. I'm not getting paid for them. They're not a sponsor. I'm just telling you what's what. So there we go. The other thing, too, let me see. I haven't seen a lot of controversy out there regarding Doctor Who, but I have seen some sellers out there selling stuff for some crazy prices, like World Distributors Doctor Who Special. It was a big, thick book. You can get those pretty inexpensively these days, but somebody was asking £50 for one, and they were getting quite a bit of pushback from the crowd. So I'd say be careful, with prices, and I've seen some crazy prices out there lately. There's still that guy with the last episode's Mask of Mandragora still asking $500 for it. He relisted it, and I'm like, oh, he's never going to get that. And he won't accept any messages, so you can't tell him he won't get it. He's probably turned that off. There's nothing you can do. That just nobody's going to buy it. It's too bad. I'm still working on my Hatchet Dalek kit. Unfortunately, though, my kit 11 came with a broken motor. So I wrote back to Hatchet themselves, and they have not yet responded back. It's been a couple days. So I managed to go through my own store to Forbidden Planet, and I just bought another kit 11. It wasn't that much money, but still, I think they still owe me a rebate on that, and I'm still not happy they haven't responded. So when I went to review them, I put that in there, hoping it will prompt those folks to get on it. But it happens. I mean, one of the wires was loose in the box, and so it's like, it was in a little bag, but that could have happened at any point. And I want this Dalek to work. So it's the motor that raises and lowers the eye stalk. So it's really kind of cool the way that works. So there you go. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the next episode. I'm looking forward to the next convention. I'm looking forward to, hearing back from my listeners. If you want to give me some feedback or you want to send some information my way, just use that email, DoctorWhoCollectorsPodcast@gmail.com. Somebody asked me, actually, one of the questions I got was, why don't you use your own domain? Well, it costs more money through the web host. If I wanted Larry at DoctorWhoCollectorsPodcast.com, DoctorWhoCollectors.com or something, which would be fine, except I got to pay for that. Gmail is free. It's secure. It does virus scanning. I don't have to do that. And it's wonderful. And as far as storage limits and stuff, when I reach that limit, I just dump messages or I archive them somewhere else. And that way, because I don't get a lot of spam there, but it does get filtered and deleted. So there you go. So like I said, any questions you've got, I'm more than happy to answer them. Well, thanks for listening to my time. We're going to take another quick break, and then we're going to go straight to our main story today, which is the coverage of the 1987 classic hardcovers. Stay tuned.
You are invited on an adventure across all of time and space. In a completely random order. It's the Police Box in the Junkyard podcast. Jump in the TARDIS with your hosts,
Eric Gulbranson,
Asad Kheshki, and
Matthew Kressel.
Explore Doctor Who TV stories, audio adventures, and books, both novels and non-fiction. The Police Box in the Junkyard podcast. It's the entire Whoniverse on shuffle. The Police Box in the Junkyard podcast is a member of the Direction Point Network and is available about once a month wherever you find your podcasts. You are listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Keep collecting.
The vervoids are probably the best dirty joke in Doctor Who.
They're hermaphroditic plants.
A lot of plants are.
So there you go. It's based on science.
No, they'll ship anything.
There are probably 11 and handle shippers out there. You just have to drill a hole where his mouth is, and you're all set.
You know he needs the room. I've seen it in pictures.
I'm not saying you're not a fan. I'm saying you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Doctor Who gives a drunken Doctor Who podcast for the end times.
Up there is the scanner, those are the doors, that is a chair with a panda on it. Sheer poetry, dear boy.
And now it's time for our main story on the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. On today's episode, we're doing a deep dive into the wild world of Dalek toys with a book we reviewed on this program, and that's Evolution of the Toy Dalek. And joining me right now is the author of that book, Alex Storer. Welcome to the program, Alex.
Hi there. Hi, nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you so much. It's a great book. I'm glad we were able to get it fast here in the United States. It was a book that a lot of collectors were a little worried about because they thought, we thought we had all the Daleks, and then you had one. Oh, I don't have that one. So, so let me start off by just asking. So, what inspired this project?
Oh, that's a loaded question. It's got a bit of a history to it. I mean, obviously, I'm a lifelong Doctor Who fan, and I've probably been as big a fan of the Daleks for as long as I've been a fan of the show, if not more so. Mm-hmm. That obsession dates back to the early 1980s. And I'd always wanted to do something, and I didn't know what. I wanted to do something that I could, because I'm a creative person, designer, artist, musician, multi-faceted, whatever you want to call me.
Sure.
With a bit of writing thrown in. I've never really considered myself to be an author, but it's kind of something I fell into, if you like. Mm-hmm. I always wanted to do a project on the Daleks, but I didn't really know what. And it was only in 2023 when I was ill with had a slip disc.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
And I was very, very ill for quite a few months and out of action, and the only thing I could do while I was just sort of stuck in the house, I thought, well, I can write, so maybe I can start writing about why I enjoyed collecting Daleks, where it all started. And as I started to sort of draft ideas and get better at the same time, I started taking photographs of my collection, and then I thought, hang on, I've got enough stuff here to actually make some kind of a publication. Which over the course of the rest of the year I did, and I put it out as a free ebook. Mm-hmm. But that was, by comparison, a very early sort of draft version, if you like, of what we have now. The digital version is no longer online, so I took that off because I thought it's going to be confusing. And what I've done with Telos Publishing is so much better than my draft, if you like. It's bigger, it's revised, it's updated, there's much more in it, there's more interviews, it's much more in depth. So I kind of gave myself a bit of a test run, if you like, with my draft version. Mm-hmm. And I was happy with that. I thought, yep, that's quite good. And then I went to David Howe's house, because he has the most amazing private collection of merchandise.
Yes, he does.
And it turns out we don't live too far away from each other.
Oh, nice.
About an hour up the road, if that.
Oh, okay.
So I went to his house and we got talking, and I said, well, how about, would you be interested in publishing a bigger, better version of this book? And it was, yeah, great, let's go for it. So we did. So it's pretty much 2 years of work that's gone into this, but I'm so proud of it. And as a Dalek obsessive, I think it's delivered everything I wanted to, and it's also a first of its kind.
Yes,
because nobody's ever done a book just on the Daleks before. When you look at all the merchandise specials, it's always a collection of everything, or when it comes to the Daleks, there's always the same things, whereas I thought, right, let's just focus on, not everything, because it would be impossible, really, but all the main toys and models from every year from 1964 to present day.
And the Daleks were the very first characters to have its own, like the first book was a Dalek book, and of course all this stuff that came out in the early '60s. I only have a few things from there, but I do have one of these from the '60s. I've had it for a long time, and then the other thing I have is I have one of these little badges here from the early days.
Lovely.
I don't know. I'm not sure if this was in your book or not, but I also recently got one of these Bagatelle games.
Yeah, they're pretty rare.
Yeah, the large one, and it actually still works. So there we go. So it's great. Yeah. So I've been collecting for 44 years. I started watching. My first Dalek story was in '75, and I thought, wow, what an amazing journey that was. And of course, in the U.S., we didn't see anything until 1981, and still no toys, just books.
Yeah.
So. For someone like for collectors out here, this book here really makes it like the ultimate challenge. Like, how am I going to find this stuff, and find it for because some of the early stuff is now going for a large amount of money.
Oh yeah.
I saw a Dalek blaster gun on eBay for $1,000 and things like that. But your book kind of helps narrow down. Okay, there's a definitive or very close as you can get to a definitive list of all the toys that came out from the 60s to the present day. So another question I have is, how challenging was it to find information about those manufacturers from the early days? Because a lot of them don't exist anymore.
Yeah, I think for me, it's been obviously a lifelong interest collecting and researching. So a lot of what I learned over the years from various sources was just sort of up here, And again, David Howe's Transcendental Toy Box book was sort of my Bible to double-check facts and everything. And, of course, internet research. But sometimes you do find that it's not right, so you need to sort of look up multiple sources and try and, get it as right as you can. But one of the really nice things about evolution here was speaking to some of the manufacturers. I located, obviously one of the most famous toy Daleks was the Palitoy talking Dalek from the mid-70s.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think...
This guy here.
That's the beauty, yes. Yeah. I love those. I've got a couple just behind me.
Yeah, I see them back there, yeah. I think I have three, but yeah, they're wonderful. I love fixing them up and making them talk again.
They're just glorious. I mean, they're not... One of the things that I look at in the book is the accuracy of the toys, because, as we know, the early toys were really inaccurate, but part of what the book does, as the title suggests, is it looks at how they've evolved and got better over the years. And as a kid growing up in the 80s, I'd seen the Five Doctors. I think I must have seen one of the repeats of Destiny of the Daleks. And it was really Resurrection that got me hooked. But in the early 80s, you could not get any Dalek toys at all. The Palitoy figures hadn't been in production for some time. And obviously the Daypal ones, which came later, were still a few years off. So as a 6-year-old Dalek obsessive with no Dalek toys was like, I got Masters of the Universe, I got all the Star Wars stuff, but it's like, no, I want a Dalek. My dad made me one out of fiberglass. Okay. My parents bought me one of the Big Sevens kits, but that was just a massive, huge model.
These guys?
That's the Comet.
Oh, the Comet, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't have a Sevens. I have the Comet, yeah.
But yeah, I didn't get my first Dalek toy until a few years later at school, when there was a toy sale. Kids brought in unwanted toys and games, and sitting there among it all was this Dalek. And it was exactly the amount of money I'd got on me, so it was like a dream come true, and it still talked.
Oh, that's great.
So I've always had a soft spot for those. So back to the point, I got in touch with Palitoy's ex-head toy designer, Bob Brechin, which took some locating, but he must be in his 80s now. But I was really keen to find out more about the Palitoy Dalek, and he got one of his ex-colleagues on board to help me with some of the research. Ironically, they couldn't really remember much about making the Dalek at all. But I think back in the day, Palitoy used to also subcontract a lot of the manufacture of things. So that could have been one of those. But, research like that, I was in touch with Comet Miniatures, Tony James, who was the founder of that company, and he's still making models today, had a wonderful phone conversation with him to really, just drill into how you got started, how it went and why and all that sort of thing. Same with Product Enterprise in more recent years.
Oh, yes.
Which were a favourite of mine. Yeah, they were beautiful.
The new ones, yeah. These are wonderful, yeah.
So again, had a good conversation with Stephen Walker. Stephen Scott, who runs Sci-Fi Collector, and Jason Lindsay, who used to run Biff Bang Pow. We spoke for hours one evening. That was great. It was just such a lovely conversation to have, and I think that comes across in the book as well.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the research comes from not just me looking in books and magazines and the internet, but from speaking to these people to try and get it as accurate as possible.
Yes, and of course, as some of these people are starting to get older, and some are no longer with us on these designers, the folks that were behind a lot of the early things. One of the earliest things that I don't have it in the room with me, but I have a Burek Dalek playsuit.
Wow.
That I was able to get from a guy who actually said he loaned it to the folks that made an Adventure in Time and Space. I don't know if it was one used on the screen or not. I can't tell, but it's beautiful. I mean, it's like one of the. If I was a kid and had that, I would have been over the moon. But obviously, we didn't know it existed back when I was a kid.
Yeah.
How did you go, like, for things like that? I'm pretty sure that designer is long gone. But how did you find out about those early costumes, especially that one in the Scorpion automotive costume?
Yeah, again, it was conversations with David, who is a walking encyclopedia for
yes, he is.
for Who merchandise, looking at old archive news articles about them, and people like Chris Hill, who runs the Space Museum, who's got a fabulous website that's got a lot of these little nuggets of information. So he's got scans of the Marx catalogue and other catalogues and that sort of thing. So what I wanted to do, I didn't want to create a book that was just a very dry, factual history. I wanted to write it from the perspective of a fan. So, yes, I'm looking at what I thought worked about each toy model, whatever, what didn't, looking a bit at the history, but also looking at it from a personal point of view as to, why I like this particular one and how it works. So it's a mixture of things, but I think it is told from the point of view of a collector rather than, as I say, a more sort of academic history, if you like.
And that's something I really loved about the book, because since I've been a Doctor Who collector for quite some time, I haven't read very many books that do talk to me, and this book did talk to me. And I really appreciated the style. And plus, every you turn the page, and it's like, wow, there's something new here. There's something different here. The colors pop, the images, some of the images, I'm like, oh yes, this is really, helps as far as identifying some of the things. And, especially, we're talking about the Toy Daleks, the extremely hard to find gray Dalek with the black dots. You have a picture of that, and I've never seen one. I know that's like the holy grail of Toy Daleks.
It is. I don't have one myself, and that was the last. That was probably one of the last little bits of research that went into the book, because I've spoken to several fans who've all got them. They sent me their photos so I could just stare at them enviously. But yeah, nobody. I spoke to a friend who remembered buying several from the Doctor Who exhibition in Blackpool in the late 70s. But I think they ceased production in the early 80s, and there's very little information about them out there. But it was actually Aaron Challenger.
Yes.
Aaron's Collectibles in Australia, who he got in touch and said, well, I've got this prototype version, and he explained how he got it and where he got it from, and he did speak to some of the manufacturers at the time, so managed to shed some light on the origins of that one at long last.
Oh.
But I still don't know how long it was actually in production for. I think it was probably the very last thing that Palitoy did when they had the license, so that's why they're pretty rare.
It also makes sense too, because you look at the packaging for the Peletoy box, they don't even tell you what color Dalek is in the box. They give you a red one on the front and the gray on the back. And like, I was looking everywhere to see, it doesn't have any indication. You just get what you get. So just one of those. And I know Peletoy made lots of I have a K9 too in my collection that works great. But the other Dalek that is kind of a holy grail item is the Dennis Fisher Dalek.
Yeah.
And so I know that's also been, some of the Dennis Fisher toys have been under discussion lately. So how did you find out more about Dennis Fisher?
Again, they're a toy. I don't have any of those in my own collection.
Yeah, I
but
don't
when
either.
I visited David's museum, I saw some myself, and I've seen them in other people's collections in the past. So, because what I like to do in the book is, I wanted to avoid not writing about anything that I didn't have experience of owning or at least seeing for myself. There's a few things like that in there, but obviously I can't have seen everything, but I really wanted it from an experience point of view. And that, like you say, there's a lot of vibrant imagery and stuff in the book. I designed it myself and did a lot of the photography. My friend Mark in Australia did a lot of photography for it too. So I wanted to avoid existing pack shots. I think there's only a very small number in there, whereas you've got over 300 photos that were pretty much mostly purpose taken for the book. So even something like the Dennis Fisher, I'd be looking at the photos that people were sending me just to get a feel for it. If somebody said, how many photos do you want? I say, well, how many can you send me? Take it from every angle and make sure you show me the underside.
Right. Yes, I noticed that too. In the Dennis Fisher page, you've got an underside of the Dalek, which is neat because I've never seen that. Also, some of the most unique photos of the Dennis Fisher game War of the Daleks. I've got 3 of those, and I take one to a convention every year so people can actually play it. It's a wonderful game, and the little toy Daleks are just amazing as far as how they put those in there and made how the play works and all that. It's just and your photos really give it great perspective as far as not just here's the box cover. That's one thing I love about this book.
I really wanted to stick to my own brief of models and toys and figures. So I didn't really go into games very much at all. They're mentioned, inevitably so, but I thought I really want to stick to the actual toys there.
Well, I think you got it there because War of the Daleks does have a Dalek toy in it.
It does, I mean, they're not very good from a likeness perspective, but they're Dalek-esque.
No, but they're Dalek. They're
but I think
Daleks.
You have to also think, okay, back in this, you transport yourself back in time to the mid to late 70s.
Yes.
There wasn't a great deal of toys out there, so a game like War of the Daleks would have been a big thing for fans, to be able to play this. That was the era of the board game, so...
Oh, I know, and I really, I look back on the history here in this country, and I'm like, wow, that game would have sold here in the 80s if they had kept it going. Because I used to own a shop. I had a Doctor Who store in Chicago in 1984, and we were just scrambling to find what we could, and we did get lucky with a few people in the UK who were able to send some stuff over. Of course, back then it was a lot harder to ship things, but we managed to get a few. But I'm still discovering things 40 years later. But
it's all part of the journey.
I know it's it's quite it's an ongoing journey. It's like somebody always asked, will you ever get everything? I said, that's impossible. There's no way because, from 64 to 1989, there was a definitive number of things. And then there were a few things in the 90s. And then from 2005, it's been millions of items that have come out.
It's impossible to keep up. Yeah,
it's just, you can't. But I do my best to find, I like to find the unusual or the kind of the crazy, the things that you do make mention of it in the book here. There was a Dalek book that was published in New York in 1967. It was the Doctor Who and the Daleks. They tried to follow it up with the release of the movie here from the Peter Cushing movie, and it did not sell at all. But copies of that book now are reaching high figures because there was like, wait, that was published here? I'm like, yes, it was sent over to Avon books here in this country, and it did not sell. But the cover of that book has Toy Daleks on it with a couple of go-go dancers, which I thought was hilarious. I don't know if you remember the one I'm talking about.
I think so.
Yeah, but that's, people are like, wow, so we did get a little piece of that in 1967, but it went nowhere because no one had heard of Doctor Who. And that's really something. I like how your book is divided into decades, so you can kind of go from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. And in the 80s, of course, Daypole probably has more Dalek variants than any other toy. So, how did you manage to see every possible configuration from Daypole?
No, not at all. I did buy a lot back in the day. The thing with most of their Dalek figures, though, is it was just the same mold, just repainted.
Different
Whereas
colors.
I've always felt it was a bit of a missed opportunity to improve the sculpts and not just dip them in glitter or give them pink spots or whatever, but they really churned them out. As I say, my friend Mark in Australia, he's got quite a lot of them, so he was taking me pictures. David supplied some. So photos from different fans really couldn't possibly illustrate all of them, but trying to pick out all the significant figures, as well as the ones that I still got of my own somewhere.
I think
spoke with David Boyle's wife, because obviously David passed away a few years ago, so I sadly couldn't never had the chance to meet with him or speak with him, but his widow Julie was very helpful in supplying a lot of information and background about Daypole and some of the nice photographs that I've included in the book, where you can see Peter Davison and Sylvester McCoy visiting the factory and that sort of thing.
Yeah, those are cool. And I know I think I have one play set that has a bunch of Daleks and a Davros, and the Davros has two hands. So I know they didn't always get it right. And then I of course there's always the odd thing with the movie Daleks, the Peter Cushing Daleks, which were slightly different, and there's been a resurgence in interest in those two movies. So were you able to get a lot of information about those Daleks?
Yeah, not especially. There's quite a few that I had never even seen, so it was a bit harder, which is probably why they're not featured. But yeah, they are rare, and I think certainly in recent years, people like Character Options and Product Enterprise did a brilliant job of putting out proper, nice, authentic-looking versions of those movie Daleks with the big bases and the huge dome lights and everything.
Yes, I think I have a couple of inflatable ones they did, which were really nice. And of course, and every once in a while, I pick up, like the old 6mm films that came out. And I've had John Walsh on the program. He did a big book from Studio Canal about movies and had access. And I know they actually gave away an actual Dalek from the movie that some kid had to push home. It's really, I thought, and I have that's another book that came out. Anthony Clark just did a book on the films, so it was just amazing stuff. Now back to what you have here, and of course going through the Harlequin miniatures and the Danbury Mint chess set. I was lucky to get a hold of one of those, and that has a really nice Dalek on there. And I know David Howe has that in his collection as well.
Yes.
That's just those things still come out as excellent material. So did you actually talk to anybody from Danbury on that one?
No, I don't think I did. But I did actually, and I've been kicking myself ever since. I visited just on a day out a couple of years ago in a big place out in the countryside here, where there's an art gallery and various little shops and antique shops. And in one of the antique shops, I came across a Danbury Mint Dalek.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't buy it. And I was like, why didn't I buy that?
Because even by itself, it's a nice little and I've got a bunch of them in the set, and I thought, wow, these are just really well done, and they only sold they didn't sell very many of those chess sets, but now the whole sets are going for a lot more money now than they than they used to.
Yeah, they're hugely collectible. Probably, at the time, they were the most expensive Doctor Who item ever produced. They may still be.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, and I know having because I do take it with me to conventions. I got a road case built for it, so I can pad it and take it with me. But what a wonderful thing! I also
especially when you consider that it was in the mid-90s when the show was really at a low.
Well, I found out that during the 90s, if you just asked them, they gave you a license. Because they didn't care. Because that was when I did a podcast on the Bally pinball machine, which also features a Dalek. And my brother owns one, and he's got a moving head on the top of the pinball machine. And has
I know the one, yeah.
Yeah, and he said that when he talked to the folks at Bally, they said, oh, it was the easiest license to get. They just said, hey, can we get a license? Yeah, sure. Here you go.
It was pretty much dead and buried then. Even in the wake of the TV movie, which I don't think was particularly as successful as it could have been at the time.
Right.
But yeah, you think like the chess set was essentially a part work because you had to buy it piece by piece.
Right.
Which is a bit of an insane thing to do when you consider it's at a time when the program was not even on air and it's really hit a low. But
and then they really tried to cash in with that expansion set. I remember the whole, with the Paul McGann and all the other characters, which I have not seen a full set for sale, but I've seen piecemeal out there, which is interesting. The other toys I wanted to ask about, I can't quite bring one over to the camera, but I do have. I don't know if you can see those here. These big, there are these tall radio controlled Daleks, and wow, what a. They're about this tall, and they work great. Any background information on how those were developed?
I think you're talking about the Product Enterprise.
Yes, I think they're Product Enterprise. Yeah.
Yeah, they were brilliant. I mean, I sort of compared them to the Sevens kits in the book because they're the same kind of size, same kind of detail, and I think the Sevens Dalek was always the best looking model Dalek that anybody had done. And the most accurate. And then these came along with the added bonus that you can scare the cat with them and everything.
Yes.
Moving parts, voice. I think once, because I had a nice conversation with Stephen Walker about how he got the Doctor Who license, and it was really once they got the license, that was it. They could just keep developing stuff. And a lot of what they did, like the first toys were a new version of the 60s Rollickin Dalek with the little ball bearing in the bottom. And then they did their own equivalent of the Palitoy talking Dalek. So they were really, I think, keen to not put out retro toys, but putting out stuff that really echoed the Dalek toys we'd loved in the past. So I think the big remote control ones there, they were just an absolute logical progression.
I agree.
Yeah, they look fabulous.
Oh, they do. They look amazing, and they're still floating around out there, which is kind of nice. Now, finally, I don't think it made the book, but you might be aware that Hatchet Collections is putting out a Dalek kit. I'm currently building one. I'm on kit 15 or something like that. It's supposed to be a complete remote control Dalek, all facets of moving the eye stalk. I know the eye stalk actually, has the eye come up and down and moves up and down. The gun will move. There's a alien Khalid mutant inside. It's when it gets done, it'll be about half the size of a real Dalek, so almost 5 feet off.
I believe so. Yeah, it's going to be very impressive.
And I'm looking forward to the end of that. And I thought, wow, what a and it's very popular. I mean, they're selling thousands of units, so it's still Daleks are still the greatest villain, I think, in the history of science fiction. And
absolutely,
you really nailed it.
Fire merchandise,
yeah, you really nailed it with this book. And to my listeners, I know you've already heard this from me, but this book is available for sale. You can get it at telos.co.uk or Amazon.com. Also carries the book at this time, and you can really add this to your collection as far as a great reference book for Dalek toys. One final question for you. If you could only own one Dalek toy, what would that be?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I genuinely do not know. I think my current favourite is the most recent set from Character Options, which was the Resurrection of the Daleks, Drone Dalek.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was, I think, when I first saw the Resurrection back in 1984 and first wanted a Toy Dalek, that was, in my head, that was what a Toy Dalek would look like. And it's taken 40 years to get that. So for me, that particular figure feels like the one. It's like, yes, okay, this is the one that I dreamt of as a child, and now I've got it, and they've done it so perfectly.
That's great. Oh, before we go, you have another book that just came out yesterday.
I do,
I believe.
Yes,
And,
that's right.
I had a chance to look at it here. It's called Blackpool Remembered: A Visual History of the Classic Doctor Who Exhibition. Of course, this happened in England, so I never got to go. I've still got my PDF here, so but I will be getting a physical copy, of course. Tell me about that journey, because I remember seeing in Doctor Who magazine, just dreaming of wanting to go fly over there and visit this amazing exhibition. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, I went in 1985 in its final year. I was 7, and my world, it revolved around Doctor Who. So when I saw the advert on TV, I demanded to my parents that we go to Blackpool on holiday because I've got to go to this exhibition. And we did. And, I've always said that was probably the most exciting moment and certainly most cherished childhood memory, because it was literally, you were stepping off the pavement of reality and entering the world of the show, literally up close for real. And it was just, back in the 70s and 80s, what other program had its own permanent exhibition? None of them.
None of them did, no.
So to actually be able to see the stuff that you'd watched on screen just a few months previously was just incredible. While I was there, I met a Cyberman, I guess a guy dressed up in one of the Cyberman costumes just to terrify you. But it was just a dream come true as a young fan. And so that exhibition was always another obsession of mine for years. And I think it was maybe in 2010, 11, I made a little publication called Who, Where and When, which was a collection of my own memories of conventions and being a fan and just sort of writing up memories, one of which was the going to the exhibition. And what I tried to do in that was I tried to create a floor plan to try and illustrate what I remember seeing, which I got very wrong and completely inaccurate, but there was just nothing out there.
Right.
Fast forward another 10 years to the outbreak of COVID, when everybody went into lockdown. I resurrected that project because there was more photos online for reference, and a great Facebook group about the exhibition. So I was able to see a lot more photographs and try and get this floor plan looking better, but it was still not right. But anyway, another fan, John Collier, got in touch and he said, well, I've seen your floor plan, and that was something that I've always wanted to do as well. And he'd been to the exhibition many times throughout its when it was open. And like myself, it was an obsession for him, and he wanted to make a book about it. So that became our sort of lockdown project. It was his concept, really. I wrote things for it. I supplied my photographs. I helped him with bits and pieces. We got so many other people involved. We managed to even track down Julie Jones, who used to be the exhibition manager.
Yes.
So throughout that lockdown period, we just literally slaved away on this book, which John wanted to put out as a free ebook, and it's still out there. But it ended up being like 400 pages.
Wow.
It was huge. It was a collection of fan memories. It was year by year stuff. And in that process, somebody sent us scans of an actual floor plan. So we were able to finally nail the layout, which then allowed us to work out what was on display in each display area year by year, based on photographs, based on fan memories, based on reviews in old magazines. And it was a real labour of love. And then in the following years, we did similar ebooks on the exhibitions in Longleat. And the latter day Blackpool one. But I think last year, while I was working on the Dalek book, because as I say, I designed that myself, and that was such a nice project to be designing, and I thought, you know what, I'd like to revisit Blackpool. So I said to John, I says, next year, this year now, is going to be the 40th anniversary since it closed. Why don't we look at doing some kind of printed version, an abridged version, because obviously we can't realistically produce something that's over 400 pages.
Right.
But really takes all the best bits from that and all the concise history, the floor plans, all the year-by-year stuff, and bring it into a new sort of definitive volume. Because I'd been a bit involved in self-publishing via Amazon and their print on demand, and I thought, actually, now that's come to a certain standard and availability. Yes. That could be a way to get something out there, because obviously I'm not a publisher. I don't have the funds to actually print several hundred books and post them all out. But a service like that, I thought, actually, that could be the way forward. So I basically redesigned the book from scratch. New design, rewrote everything, edited it down, collated it. We looked at the best bits. We looked at what we thought we could keep. And yeah, it's just come out really nicely. And even though it's not even half as big as the ebook, I think it's just as important. It's got just as much stuff in. And it really is it's the closest thing to time travel we could create for fans, I think.
I agree. Yeah, it's a great book. It does remind me. We did get a taste of that here in the United States. It was called the USA Tour, where they brought over a trailer, but like a portable exhibition with and Bessie and things like that. And some of the stars came to some of them. The one in my location was actually the worst one. We didn't get any stars. We got no videos. We got just the exhibition and the car, and we couldn't touch the car. So, in fact, just a shameless plug to my listeners, that's going to be on a real-time video. Keith Barnfather is going to have the USA Tour Doctor on display. I'll be on the video doing the Chicago part, so that's coming out in August. So keep a mind on that. And I'm doing
the cover design for that as well.
Oh, you did?
I've done all the sleeves for the Doctor on Display series.
Well, there you go. So
that was another thing that came out of the Blackpool Remember project. Is Keith came to both mine and John's houses to film us for the Blackpool video.
Right. Yeah, Keith's great. He came to America last year. I got a chance to spend some time with him. What a great guy.
Absolutely,
and trying to get the history out there as best as possible. So, small world on that. I didn't realize you did the sleeves for those. That's awesome.
That all comes from this project. So I think this book now, which I believe it came out yesterday and should be available on all territories of Amazon. So regardless of where you are in the world, you should be able to order it since they print them on demand. It's been really nice to be able to take all the best bits and all the sort of, like I say, we've got a floor plan for every year of the exhibition, various memories, and one of the guys who sent us photographs for the original book, Richard Lever, he'd taken slide photos back in the day, and they are the most beautiful, gorgeous shots because he didn't use flash, so he really captured all the ambience and the coloured lighting that all the people that visited remember it for. So it brings a really nice visual consistency to the book, having mostly his photos to illustrate it with. It's for me and John, it's been a long time project. I mean, obviously 5 years ago since we did the first one. Right. But now we think we've made the ultimate version. So anybody who went to Blackpool at any point during that time, I think, this book's really for you.
Fantastic. Well, to my listeners, you can get Blackpool Remembered, A Visual History of the Classic Doctor Who Exhibition, 74 to 85 on Amazon, at print on demand. And you can get Evolution of the Toy Dalek at tellus.co.uk, or I believe also Amazon has this as well, or they will at some point. So there we go. My guest is Alex Storr. Alex, thank you for being on the program today.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. My listeners, please stay tuned for the most outrageous offer.
we are going on a journey, a very long journey, through the world of the Target novelizations in publication order. Every week, we are looking at a new book, talking about Terrence Dicks, Malcolm Hulk, and all our Doctor Who novelization friends. Whatever you do, keep turning the pages. This is Jason Miller of the Doctor Who Literature Podcast, a member of the Direction Point Podcast Network, and you are listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Keep collecting.
Hello, fellow time travelers, and welcome to the Doctor Who Target Book Club podcast, the only podcast to discuss, in story order, all the Doctor Who novelizations. My name is Tony Whitt, and every 2 weeks or so, I'm joined by a 2 to 3 person discussion panel, including our so-called expert who's been a Who fan since 1979. That would be me. We also get the views of intermediate, casual, and novice fans who either have never seen the show or who have never read these books until these podcasts, including
Dalton Hughes
and
Alison Fitz-Seyfried.
You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you find good podcasts, or even ones like ours. You're listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast on the Direction Point Podcast Network. Keep collecting.
All my travellings throughout the universe, I have battled against evil, against power-mad conspirators. I should have stayed here. The oldest civilization. Decadent, degenerate, and rotten to the core. Power-mad conspirators, Daleks, Sontarans, Cybermen. They're still in the nursery compared to us. 10 million years of absolute power. That's what it takes to be really corrupt.
And now it's time for the most outrageous offer, which is a Doctor Who item or Doctor Who related item that is priced way beyond where it should be, and trying to discover why these prices are made. Unfortunately, we have no idea. But today we have a Doctor Who Target book. It's Doctor Who The Rescue by Ian Marter. And I found a price here from Toscana Books in Austin, Texas. I don't know if that's a real store. It's on Abe Books. They're asking for $1,787.20. Says it's in new condition. Okay. But not much there. Now, I went ahead and looked and found other copies for $55, $64. There's another one here for $1,399. I don't get it. eBay also turned up a few copies for, here's one for $224.99, or let's see, $50. So I'm a little confused. Why is The Rescue in Target books so much money? So I thought, let me look in my own stock. What do I have? I have a copy of The Rescue, one copy in my Target library, and it's priced at $15, which is where it's going to stay. So $15, that seems reasonable. I don't think any of these prices are reasonable, and I can't, unless comment, send me your information. What is wrong with The Rescue? I mean, don't tell me there was another warehouse fire, because we debunked that for the Wheel in Space. So why is The Rescue so darn expensive? It doesn't make any sense. I'm not finding anything cheaper than $50 on eBay. So there we go. So that's obviously an issue. So we'll look further. I'm calling it outrageous because I have a copy, and it's been in stock with me for a while. It's a mint condition book, $15. So there we go. So again, make sure do your best, shop around and see if you can find one that's a little bit cheaper. I have no idea if that's going to even be possible. We may even be revoking the most outrageous offer status once I get information that tells me it's not. So hopefully somebody out there can help me out. So there you go. So The Rescue for a lot of money, $1,700 and $1787.20. I have a screenshot of that on our webpage along with a link, because sometimes they disappear. Anyway, that wraps up the most outrageous offer, and that wraps up the Doctor Who Collectors podcast. Thank you for listening. I want to thank my guest today, Mr. Alex Storer, was on the program talking about his book, Evolution of the Toy Dalek, which you can get at telos.co.uk. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We look forward to episode 90, and keep collecting.
Direction point!
A Doctor Who Podcast Network.